Alright, so where we left off is we made a custom collision. This is for box meets ball, ball meets box type of thing. We've had radial, AAB, and custom. Now, let's finish up Pong, guys. This has been nice to kind of go over, show an entity component system, scalability, all that type of stuff. But it is time. It's time to put Pong to an end here. The main thing is we need a better speed on our ball. So I'm going to say, I don't know, speed's going to be like 5. But our paddles need to be slightly faster than our ball. So speed's going to be like 6-ish. And the other thing here is the angle type of thing. So the angle, I suppose, is going to change on collision depending on key pressed. So I think it's going to be pretty easy here. So let me go ahead and do this. So of course, when we hit the left-hand side, we want it to go to the right, and if we hit the right-hand side, we want it to go to the left. But what about up and down? Well, we should honestly just borrow the current direction at which our guy who hit it is moving. Makes sense, right? So, like, for example, his direction dot y. So as in, if I'm not moving, go ahead and just continue to be 0. But if I start moving up on impact, then we're gonna be moving that way or down. So let's go ahead and give this a shot here. So it should show, kind of simple like that. And then I'm going to be moving up when it comes by this time. Oh. Yep. Kind of like that. So not perfect, but certainly works. Now, the other thing here, what about our screen position type stuff, right? So like when the ball tries to hit up or down, it needs to bounce. But if it hits left or right of the screen, it's a point. So here, I'm going to go ahead and grab this. And we want position. So comp dot position dot y, and I'm going to say less than 0. So we're going to say, hey, if our ball is less than 0, or our ball's position is greater than screen height. Now, we're going to change this slightly. We have to take into account radii, that type of thing. But for now, we'll check this. I'll go here and just say this times equals -1. So we're just changing its direction in the y. That should be fine. Let's go ahead and go like this. So boom, I'm going to bounce it upward. It should bounce downward now. Right. And then that should bounce upward. And I wonder too. Ah. Our custom collision is slightly off. So let's kind of take a look here. Over here. I do need the top and the bottom. I thought I didn't, but I do. And I actually need the top and the bottom of this as well. So, our top would be, our top would be minus, our bottom would be that. I'm just kind of thinking here. It would be if my my left hand side's top is less than your bottom. So in this case, greater than give that a shot there. Make sure I save that. Seems good. Now, as we did up here with this nice little return, we could do the same thing, honestly. I know it's a little bit out of our way from the plot, but you know. Just kind of going along here. Notice how I'm changing the sign to make the condition correct. Let's check that again. That's perfectly correct there. So go ahead and we can erase that. Boom. Now we have a custom collision, an AABB collision, so on and so forth. Almost wonder too. Yeah, the only difference is the radius. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and then the way I wrote it is kind of backwards too, which is funny as well. But anyway, we do need to account for the radius within this ball bounce here. So if we noticed, we need this guy's radius. So it's less than his radius. Go ahead and just try that. I'll bounce it upward. Yep, and then here it would be screen height minus that radius. So boom. Now we just need to finish the game loop and add a score. So we have all this stuff here. This here, we could actually add a collision function like so. Just having that separation of concerns there. And that way, if you needed to debug and you're having a problem or you wanted to shut off a particular part, it's a lot quicker to do. But yeah, we need the game loop, we need the score. So when it goes all the way to the left and goes all the way to the right, we need that. So that is kind of like a collision event in a sense. I'm actually going to put it in its own category here, called a score. So loop score. And what we'll do is we'll say, hey, if its X position is less than its radius, I want to say, or its X position is greater than something like that, then I will say scored in a sense. So one kind of nice thing about this, having the OR isn't quite necessary. In fact, it kind of helps us separate who scored. So in this case, just kind of make sure I'm grabbing the right stuff here. There we go. In this case, that would be the opponent score. And this would be player score. And knowing that this is a shared event between the two things, we can add a score to panel. And over here, we know score is 0, and we know we can draw our text. And in this case as well, I would just like to just make a UI component, and we'll just say something like this. should be fine. That's the only thing, though. Knowing. You guys know how I had like that iRender thing here? It would be kind of nice. But since it's a component, it's going to be part. It's fine. Absolutely fine. In fact, just to make sure, you know, it's completely separate, we can go ahead and do that. Come up here. Like so. We want to set this integer into a character. And similarly, then we want to draw our text. It needs a position as well. We could give it a transform component. That's totally unnecessary in this case. But we do need that. And then font size, can be whatever. In fact, over in, so draw text here. I'm going to say score plus, I wonder, can we just concatenate like that and then do like position.x, position.y, font size, and white? Does it like that? Does it not like that? Is that okay? That might be okay. So yeah, then we'll just do int the score. When we do this, that should be totally fine. Let's just set in position. Like so, and doing position is position. But we need a this dot, like so. Alright, so we made a UI component. Technically, since we have a layer for UI, you should be using that. It's also a nice thing about how I had that iRenderable thing there. The whole discussion about like, is that necessary? I mean, kinda. Could be necessary, could be useful. At the same time, you can just kind of do it like this here, because we have a UI component to the paddle. And that way, when we construct the paddle here, I'm not quite sure why that's a little upset. There's no default constructor for UI. It's fine. Oh, you know what? This is actually a good thing. Just make that a pointer, because then it's not gonna be mad that there's no default constructor. In fact, now we could just say UI is a new UI, like so, and we just put in the score, and then the position is going to be based off of our position. So in this case, we want it above, so it's going to be minus, but it's going to be relatively around us as well. So I'm just going to call vector 2. Inside this vector 2, we want the position.x and position.y, but there's just going to be a kind of an offset here. So in the x, I mean, we can try adding 20. I mean, at the same time, though, be aware, here I'm pretty comfortable with subtracting our screen height divided by like 4 or so. And then for rendering, just do like a UI.draw. And then one thing here as well, we could override. So virtual void update override. And then do, like paddle update void call our entities update, like so. But we could also call UI.setText score, because we're going to be drawing it, we're going to be setting the text in update, and then over here in loop, this is player score, this is the opponent score. So knowing who is who, we know this guy is our player. That score plus plus, and then this could be the other guy. That score plus plus, and that in fact is a pointer, like so. And then we're going to see how off the text is. Oh, entity. Entity has no guy named score. That's fine. We'll just kind of move that up here. And just as I thought. So, I was kind of hoping, and I haven't done this before, but I was kind of hoping Raylib would kind of do a nice little thing for us there. But it did not. So, we're going to include, hash include, I believe we need the string library. Let's see, what would this be? Maybe some of the standard. Trying to remember. Int2 string CPP uses the string library std to string num. So std to string. I think that's all lowercase. I've done it like this before. This is interesting here, though. I think we need to use the append in this case, because let's go ahead and just do so it'll be score text is equal to score, and then score text dot append, and that's the thing too. We're using a const char pointer. Might as well just use the string library. So we're gonna append, and I'm gonna do like kind of like that. See if that's okay for this here. Try to see the error score text. Pretty sure that's a CSTR. So CSTR string CPP. C underscore STR. Radio. And then, of course, yeah, so excuse me on that, but C strings are kind of interesting sometimes. The draw text function needed a const char pointer, which is technically what a string is, but it's slightly different. And then I wanted to append, so yeah, some stuff there. But anyway, I wonder. Yeah, no, that should be fine like that. But if we noticed as well, the left-hand side for the isPlayer guy for the UI was a bit rough. So if we do like an isPlayer here and say, hey, you know, this one was good. We could say otherwise. Set his position minus like, try 50. Let's try minus like 150. and minus 100. And notice the number just kind of exploded there. That's okay. So this is where we did that score plus thing. Here, this is kind of where we'll just have a boolean. I'll just say did player score and did opponent score. So we're going to have both of these. And then up here, we'll just say, hey, if this is the case, then we'll stop it. If this is the case, then we will stop that one. But we want to increase first and set these here. So yeah, like I said, these are kind of a collision in a sense. And really the only thing we need to do is have a little UI or a little AI movement, technically bounce checking for the paddles so that they can't move up and down too high. So yeah, let's go. Let's go over here to paddles update and just say. Actually, we'll go to paddles update. And say if is player. We'll go ahead and do it like this. Just kind of struggling structurally on how I'm going to go about this. Suppose, right here. So, otherwise, we'll just kind of have a this is where we could use some of that math library. Because if we're checking for the magnitude, then we could determine the direction in which we want them to go, up or down. Interesting. Okay. So here, I'm going to make a void AI. This is going to be kind of his little decision tree. I'm going to go back out here. We're going to say loop AI. And we will calculate the, say like the angle, maybe even too. Because if the angle, just trying to trying to picture it here. Just kind of draw it out for what I'm trying to think about here. You know, we have our paddle. We have our other paddle. And let's say the ball is here. Bad example. Let's say the ball is here, headed kind of this way, or this way. We need a way to tell this guy, hey, you need to go up. So calculating this angle here between my position, let's use a different color and a smaller line. Calculating this angle here may be very useful. The only thing is, what is that angle really after here? Because you gotta know if it's a positive or negative. I would assume well, let's try it. I don't know, but we will try this. So the ball and the guy. So the guy is entity 1. So we want to get entity 1s and entity 2s. Oh, that's 1. Yeah. So I think for now, I'm going to print the angle. Just kind of watch it. That'll help me determine kind of like what decision to make based off that angle. What are we mad at here? Gotta remember the math library uses the vectors. Oh, we're not calling it. So we will do AI right there. So angle is within like a certain, 0-ish. Let's try to like bump him up. Okay, I think that's pretty telling right there. That yes, we can use the angle, and yes, we should use the angle. The thing is, needs to be within a certain bounds. So if the angle is less than or equal, angle is less than or equal to negative 0.5, then your direction in the y should equal downward. If the angle is greater than, I'm going to go with 1, actually. Not quite sure what happened there. This is kind of, apparently when it hits, its angle becomes that. I think we should still print out this angle. Let's try SCD, CL, angle. Yeah, let's do a couple other things here. And angle, bam. Like that, boom. This. So it's between negative. It does become 1 right before it impacts. So I'm going to close it right when it impacts here. So yeah, so in between really like 0.1 and 1.5, it really shouldn't do anything. So if angle is less than or equal to 1.5, was that a negative as well? Yeah, so if it's less or equal to 1.5 and angle is greater than or equal to, I think like 0.1 is fine, then your direction is going to be 0 in between this area. So that should be fine. Let's clear that, make clean, clear, and make run it. Because I want to see. Okay, so your positive angle. So I bumped it up. And it became a positive angle. So this is going to be the tricky thing. So bumped it up. It did become a positive angle. Yeah, so if it's greater than 0, then you need to be going this way. If the angle is less than if the angle is greater than negative 1.5, you need to be going that way. I gotta collect a little bit more data here. So, downward strike. I think it's 0.4. Kind of a weird paradox that, you know, I probably shouldn't be using angle for this, but I'm kind of stubborn and I want to see why. Because I think what should happen here is he should start moving downward. Oh. Interesting. It's actually pretty dang good. I guess angle's not too bad. So yeah, the main thing I just noticed is, again, you know, depending on the game you're making, be careful what key presses can be pressed. So, you know, that, and then the top and the bottom of those paddles need to be, you know, fixed so they can't go beyond so Let's go into it would be basically this line here. So we're going to say for 0, if he is less than 0's size in the y, or he is position in the y's 0 is greater than 0's size in the y, wouldn't necessarily say direction in this case, just do one of those. Position, last position, doohickey. So last, here, that, there, save, boom, bam, make. I got that position. That's funny. The top is a little funky. So if my position is less than, like that. Yeah, just don't mind me. So I've recorded all of these all in one session. Just having a weird thing here. So let me talk it out. The position of my paddle, if it is less than the size, it's less than my size. I'm just less than 0. Make sure I save that. Yeah, okay. And then similar. The only difference is for the other paddle, we can simply say you know what? In fact, I think we will do the same thing. And then we'll just make sure to respawn the ball at the end when scores happened. Now, so far it kind of looks like the player will never be able to score. And this is the case. The couple things we could do: you could set a timer, and the timer. Let's see if his score did not go up. Oh, it did go up, but we never did the set score, I believe. Check here real quick. Just make sure we call that set score. So I'm just going to make kind of a helper function here called void set score. And here, paddle set score void UI.set. Set text. I'm going to move that up to entity here, and in fact, do it like that. I know that's not necessarily the best thing to do. But, you know, it's just kind of one of those things at this point where we just kind of roll with the punches. The main thing is, because it's an entity and yada yada yada, we got to be able to call that function. That's the other thing too. We no longer need a print angle every frame, so that'll help as well. Let's see here. I still think that should be in paddle. See if he can score. Did not see a score there. I'm going to shut off AI for a second as well. And see if we can score. Ba, 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 ba. Oh, that is a pointer. You can definitely tell after coding for a few hours. I'm definitely getting sluggish, tired and whatnot. But we'll push through. What is going on with set score though? I feel like that's just not correct. What about it isn't correct? I'm not too sure. Because it works for the constructor, but it doesn't work in this case. File, save, make. Get it out stream in there. It's not a saving issue. Are we? Huh. To be honest, I don't know why it would do that. I think I'm going to end up having to use the stream. That would be my guess. Let I guess as to why my way doesn't work, I mean, I think it's wrong. It doesn't seem intuitively wrong, but there must be something to this that is incorrect here. I mean, if that's 10, it should look like 10, just out of curiosity. Yep. Huh. Well, what if we call this set text function here? Because that definitely should work. And it should print out score. Uh-huh. Unless the condition itself is false. Looks like the condition is false. Ah! Oh my goodness. Well, the fact is we weren't calling score anywhere. So, yeah. You can definitely tell that the later you code for a longer session, the more mistakes you will make. It stays true because when it flies past, in fact, it is still past, right? So even, yeah, makes sense. In this case, we could just say, yo, Mr. Ball, dot position is going to equal I got to divide by 2 on those. Boom, boom, boom. And then So if the opponent scored, we're going to go ahead and pass him back to player. I don't know. I guess back to the opponent makes sense. So the direction.x is going to be 1. That is the yeah, there we go. And then I suppose the only other thing, because AI is a little tiny bit OP, you could set a timer here. So we could have like a float game timer. And we could say game timer plus equals, we have like a delta time. Get frame time. And if game timer is greater than or equal to 2 or 0.2, then we will allow the movement. We'll calculate the angle always, but we'll only change his movement every so often. And then upon impact as well, we could say let's see, is speed, what do you set at? Speed for the ball. 5. Yeah, I think plus equals 1 every time. Make it interesting. Bam. Save all. Make. I think we might be able to slow down that paddle yet a little bit. Yeah, I did manage to score on him, so I think, honestly, and just over here, we'll have to say And one thing I think I want to do here is do like a oh. $155. Just want to check something. If I'm ever setting game timer back to 0. Yeah, there we have it. We got Pong. Now, is it perfect? Well, no. But it is scalable. You know, from here, there's a lot of different things we could add. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching this tutorial. I'll put all the source code in GitHub, so if you get stuck at any point, you can see the code, reference it. Thank you. Thank you for watching.